Hi, welcome to Saturday Night Chats with Garage Geek. I hope everybody had a nice week. So yesterday I was on a live stream at 9 o'clock with Son of Crom. It's called something like Monsters. Anyways, it has a monster theme and it's on Son of Crom's channel. And because I was getting ready for that and I did a little bit before I got home late from school, and so from a training. I didn't feel like doing Friday night chat, so I'm doing it today. So I've got some movies, books, some unfortunate deaths to talk about. I have one comic, and I have one kind of controversy to talk about. So let's get started. I might as well start with the comic because I have it here and I put all of these things in it. I don't like the way it's bending up. So I want to get those out of there as fast as I can. Now, I used a thick cardboard because I wasn't satisfied with the paper ones I was using. Just because after I take them out, they're kind of messy and they fall around. And so I cut up like a really bad comic book board, and yeah, I don't like that. So anyways, this week I read The Ultimates, and this is in the Marvel Ultimate Epic Collection. Now I think this is the this is the third. I have little like cardboard things flying everywhere. This is the third one in the Ultimate line. I already read this one. Maybe it's the fourth. I'm not sure if Miles is in the Ultimate either. And this one I haven't read yet. I'm not sure if I even gotten it. Maybe I ordered it and it hasn't arrived yet. I'm not sure. But as this is collecting the Ultimates 1 through 13, and it has a cover price of $45 US. But as Larry's Library always says, you'll be a chump to pay that. Although the prices of my thing is going down. Like you can see, I have a whole bunch of comics here that I need to bag, board, and put away. And also, this is falling down. What's going on with you, Garage Geek? This is horrible. Your hair's looking nasty. Your room is looking nasty. Whatever. Okay, so this collects a run from 2002 to 2004, Ultimates 1 through 13. Now, this is an alternate universe where the Avengers come together and they meet. Probably, I would say a lot of this was used to make the Avengers movie. So what we do is we have a slow introduction to the characters. We get a couple at a time throughout the first 13 issues. And I'm just going to start showing some art. But this is by Millar and Hitch. And I'm going to say that I really, really enjoyed this with some caveats. So I'm going to go ahead and show this run was praised for its photorealistic art. And I'm going to agree and disagree. So some of the art in this is phenomenal. And it's never bad, but it's just weird in parts. Like, for example, this artist is great at these double-page spreads of scenes. Like, look at that. That's amazing. But when he's drawing people, it's a little bit weirder. Like, here's another one with a New York City where that dock was destroyed by the Hulk, and that's introducing the scene. I'm going to go ahead and show another one. So, for example, this one is a little bit clunkier, in my opinion, when you look at the art. It's certainly not bad. I'm not saying it's bad at all. It's just, I don't know, a little bit different. Here's where, the people in the art look really good, actually. Both of those look really good. So what can I say about the story? This is filled with a bunch of people that you would never want to meet. You want to think of people like the Avengers as being heroes, but these people are not. These people are petty, bigoted, mean, cruel, spiteful. They're just I don't know. The people in this book are not pleasant to be around. Even Captain America has a cruel streak in him. He kicks people when they're down, like kicks them so hard he knocks out their teeth. He does that to Bruce Banner. And I'm not saying Bruce Banner didn't deserve it, but I don't know if that's something that Captain America should do because of what he stands for. But anyways, in this version, he was just woken up and he is filled with a lot of anger for the loss of all those years. There's also a lot of, I don't know, kind of weird sexism in this. There's spousal abuse, although the person who does that is taken care of a couple of times. And then there's weird sex things like Captain America keeps saying, "What are you waiting for, ladies?" And there's another part where I think it's Captain America. He goads the Hulk into doing what he wants by saying that he's not man enough, and that and then Hulk screams, "Hulk, not sissy!" It's really bad. Now this is really funny. I was wondering what would the impact of this one be, because Captain America's on the battlefield and he's screaming, "You think this letter on my head stands for France?" Because he asks if they're going to surrender. And I just thought, wow, that's an incredibly bad taste. I wonder if for the French comics they would have to change that. Here's a double page of the Hulk. So even Nick Fury and the people in this comic, they use people. So for example, in order to get Banner to change, first of all, Banner is doped up so that he can't change, but they need him to change. They're going to use him, and they throw him out of a moving plane. Now I remember this happened in another comic. The one, I think it was Banner. And now I'm forgetting the Corbin. Richard Corbin did a 2 or 3 issue Banner series. I'm gonna move my camera back up so that it's like cutting off my forehead. And I remember they did that in that comic as well. But I think it was under really different circumstances. I think bad guys did it. But here Nick Fury authorizes them to throw Banner out of the helicopter, knowing that he's doped up and he might not be able to change in time. But they needed him, and so they did it anyway. And I just thought that, like, this comic is full of that type of cruelty. So in that sense, I'm going to say that this is a very, not an adult kind of Avengers, but it's definitely not a kid's comic Avengers. It's more adult oriented because you're dealing with a lot of spouse abuse and those issues of sexuality and those kind of things, and just the cruelty involved in this. Most of the people, they're not pleasant human beings. I didn't see, like, Tony Stark is awful. Bruce Banner is horrible. Ant-Man, Hank Pym is terrible. It's like everybody in this comic, they're not very redeemable. Now, what I'm thinking is by the second volume, they start to gel as a team, and maybe some of these issues are resolved. So, I'm going to have to say that despite all the negative things that I said, I really, really enjoyed this. I know that's contradictory, but this guy can write. So I believe it's the same person who did Kick-Ass. And that's actually one that I've never read, but I've seen the movies. And I've read other things by him. And so I guess you have to take the good with the bad in this, because it was a really enjoyable read. So I'm going to recommend this, The Ultimates. And wait, I think I have one more. Yeah, here's one. I have these little things in there. There's a double page spread of the Hulk. And this is a Hulk where one eye is like big, and the other one's closed. That's kind of what this artist does with this Hulk. Now I think I got them all. I don't want to leave any of those in there because they're so thick. They're gonna. Oh wait, here's another one. Oh, this is where they throw Banner out of the helicopter, as you can see him there, and he's also, tied up in a straitjacket. Anyways, so I bought this because it's in the Epic line, and I'm glad I did. I really enjoyed it, and I knew I had some of the other Ultimates, so I have this Ultimates too. So I'm really happy that I have that, because both runs were critically acclaimed. There is an Ultimates, a third volume, which I don't have. That one actually didn't get great reviews. And then I have this Ultimates by Al Ewing. And so I actually started reading this, and I remember liking it. So now I'm going to actually read this one next. Now, the bad thing about this is that I have all of them in 3 different styles, which, that's a little bit of a drag. All right, so I started off with comics. I'm shaking everything. My camera is sliding down again. Next, I'm going to talk about, let's talk about some of the losses, so we don't have to end this on a heavy note. So, of course, most people are commenting on the fact that we lost Brian Wilson on June 11th. So I'm not going to, add much to that. I'm not a big Beach Boys fan, but I certainly like them. And so, that's a shame. I definitely understand why Brian Wilson is very important to music. I didn't realize this, or I don't know if somebody told me about this or not, but I was watching a MASH video. It just came up in my feed. And then I discovered that Loretta Swit had died on May 30th. And my brother constantly watched MASH all the time. And so I kind of grew up with MASH. But I need to revisit the series. But I remember the way that she started out and the way her character evolved. Like, she took that character in places that it wasn't meant for originally. So she developed that character and made her something of substance. And I think she even won Emmy Awards for her portrayal of Hot Lips Houlihan. But yeah, Loretta Swit. Now, the next 2 I'm going to talk about are gay authors. Now, I did report on this one already, and that is, where's the picture? Maybe I didn't port it over. But Felice Picano, I did talk about this before. Felice Picano died on March 12th. And so this was an author who was important. And then on June 3rd, another really important author, gay author, died, and that is Edmund White. He's actually from Ohio. Now, Edmund White was really important because he wrote candidly about gay issues, gay relationships, at a time when that was kind of taboo. And he is a very important writer, and it's a big loss for literature. His death. All right. So we had like four big losses recently. I want to talk about a controversy. I think I mentioned this before, but Disney, they edited Lilo and Stitch because originally Lilo, I get them mixed up. I think Lilo is the girl and Stitch is the alien. So Lilo hides in this dryer, and they were criticized for this, and they didn't want kids emulating it at home, and they went ahead and changed it to she's like hiding in a little cupboard with a pizza box logo on the front of it. Now they did that for, altruistic reasons. I disagree with what they did. But it's kind of understandable because it's dealing with children. Now, an upcoming 4K release of Crocodile Dundee is going to have a couple of scenes deleted or changed, because there's a couple of jokes in the movie where, you know, they're not sure if it's a man or a woman, and he like goes up and like feels the person to figure it out or something like that, and you know, it's all very funny, blah 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 blah. Now, you know, audience of the 80s, it was different, and that was funny, and now people look down on it. But the thing is, I don't think that companies should be censoring these things out. I've talked about this before. So they're just gonna like rewrite history, and if you want to buy this movie on 4K, you're going to get you're not going to get the original movie as it appeared. And I don't know, I think that's wrong what they're doing, because the 80s certainly weren't perfect, and why are we going to change everything to make it look like it was different than it was, right? People thought that was funny, and now they're offended by it. There should just be possibly a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie. Hey, there is objectionable content. Or what they could do is they could have a second version of the movie on the same disc without the objectionable material, and you could choose which one you want to watch. I mean, that's, I think, acceptable, and it's very easy to do. Yeah, I'm against them just cutting out whole scenes and then putting out this really expensive 4K package, and consumers aren't aware that they're not getting, the original movie. All right. I did buy some records, so let me put down my iPad. And yesterday, while I was waiting for some takeout food, I went to a shop. Now, this shop is on New York. This record store is a little bit more pricey, but I went ahead and bought some albums anyway. It was the last day of training. I'm done with school, although I do have 2 training days next week. I'm kind of overlooking that fact, and I rifled through the dollar bin right at the opening, like before you enter the shop. There's a bunch of dollar bins, and I got this Johnny Mathis. This is Love. Now, I'm not sure if I have this, but for $1 in this really good condition, I grabbed it. I'm a big Johnny fan. The rest of the albums I bought were $10 and $6 each. So I got this copy of Funny Face. I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the plastic. I think that's a gorgeous, gorgeous cover. And here's the back. And this one has a nice interior. Well, I'm actually gonna, this record store puts the packaging so that the album is here, so you could easily open it up and check the album without taking everything out and all that stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and slide it into the record sleeve now. And so, like I said, I paid a little bit more than I probably should have. Maybe this is $1 album. I don't know. It's getting increasingly difficult to find good, really good dollar albums. Like, I was surprised I found that Johnny Mathis in really good condition the way I did. Although I didn't look at the vinyl. Maybe it's all scratched up. So there's Funny Face. The next one I bought was Caballero with That Latin Beat. Now, there's a couple of them in here. Again, I'm not sure if I have. And I went ahead and bought it, and knowing that I've got to go through my albums this summer and take stock of them in some way. So this one is Caballero with That Latin Beat, and I paid $10. I just thought it was a cool cover. And I'm definitely going to enjoy listening to this. The next one was in the same vein as this one. In fact, they were in the same bin, so they must have gotten a collection in. And this one is called Hot Cha Cha, Don Swan and his orchestra. And this has, a dancer's legs. There you go. Again, that one was $10 too. Mm-hmm. And I do enjoy this type of music, especially when I'm reading. So it's going to be fun listening to these albums. Let me go ahead and put it back in the plastic. Now, this next one, I was really not sure if I have this or not. It looked so familiar to me, but I decided to get it anyway. This is from the Romantic era, and it does need to be cleaned up a little bit. It's got some dirt on it, but I think it's going to look even better after I clean it. Look at what a beautiful cover that is. And this is by Laurindo Almeida. Music of Beethoven, Schumann, Chopin, Debussy, Massenet, Grieg, and Sohr, transcribed for the guitar. Yeah, this just looks like it's going to be a beautiful listen. Oh, look at that cool label. That's a Capitol Records label that I haven't seen before. That's interesting. All right. And I've got just one more to show, I think. Yeah, one more album to show. And this is the Hollywood Bowl Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Felix Slatkin. And this is Symphonic Dances. This one was only $6. It does have a little bit of wear at the top and the bottom, but I decided to get it. I thought that cover was funky, and I wanted it. It looks like so much fun. So this is going to just be straight up classical music. And then here we have the thing. Oh, I guess this is the label for classical music on Capitol Records, and I should have seen that before. But here are some other albums in this series, and a list of them. Capitol Records, right here in Hollywood, in Los Angeles. Yeah, wow. And it's full dimensional sound. That's what that thing stands for, FDS. Full dimensional sound. So those were some albums that I picked up while waiting for my takeout. And I definitely this summer I would like to go back and go through the bins at both stores in my neighborhood in a little bit more depth. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about today are some movies and books. I'm going to do the movies first because of the books I'll probably spend a little bit more time on. So in case anybody's not interested in that, you can go ahead and jump off. But I want to show off two of the joke things that I found on the internet. Barbie gets a special letter. OMFG, he's so obsessed with me. And it's a restraining order. But this one is pretty funny. The beaver that couldn't stay dry. There you go. All right. More joke things from the internet. I just love the way they take those children's books and they just manipulate them like that. Okay, so I watched two movies. The first one is called Last Breath. And this is based on a true story, but look at how cool that image is. Oh, this is about here, let me pull this over. And it's got a really good cast in it as well. So Last Breath. So this is based on a true story of a deep sea diver who gets there's a lot of waves at the top, and somehow the electrical portion of the ship, it turns off, and they can't control the what do you call it, a base. It's like a thing that they put down to the bottom of the ocean, but it's hooked to the ship. And they can't control it, and it starts swinging out of control. Something snaps. The two at the bottom are kind of stuck down there. One gets away, but one is trapped. And for a real-life disaster movie, it's really interesting. If this were, like a regular action movie, this would be lacking. But since it's based on a true story, this is really, really interesting. I'm not going to say it's this is definitely not a 5-star movie. I would probably say it's about a 3.5. But if you like movies where people have to survive under impossible odds, then you should watch this movie. So that is Last Breath. And I think I saw it on Netflix, maybe. One of the streaming platforms. Okay, the next one that I saw was Bullet Train Explosion. So This is Speed with Keanu Reeves and I'm forgetting her names. But anyways, that's this movie on basically a high-speed rail in Japan. A lot of fun. There's a lot of like really dangerous situations. I should explain what happens. There's a bomb on the train where if they go below 100 kilometers per mile, the train will explode. So they have to keep this train going no matter what. But the train's eventual destination is Tokyo, and they cannot let it get to Tokyo because it would explode and take out a major portion of the city. So sacrifices are going to have to be made, or something is going to have to be done. Like most Japanese movies, it's overlong. I don't mind that. I know that going in, that Japanese movies take time to develop the characters, the situation, whereas American action movies like try to give you the bare bones and just get in there and, scene after scene. So with that in mind, I did enjoy this movie and I would recommend it. I would say it's about a 4 out of a 5. There are some, there are going to be things that are coincidental and maybe, hard to believe. But overall, this was a really fun movie. So I recommend it. So the next 3 items that I'm going to talk about are books that I read. So the first one, I'm going to save the most interesting one for last. The first one that I'll talk about is one I finished today. So this was called The Solace, The Solace of Open Spaces. Now, this was a book that I wasn't exactly sure about it. Somebody recommended it to me and they said, oh, it's written in really beautiful language. And so I was like, okay, let me give it a try. So this is a nonfiction book. It's really a bunch of essays that are put together as a book. And it's about a woman's observations of nature, the landscape, the people in Wyoming. And she doesn't sugarcoat anything. She doesn't romanticize it. She describes it the way it is, the harshness of it. But you get a sense when you read this or listen to this of a world that is so really alien, at least to my existence, of these people who live solitary lives, doing a job out in nature and dealing with the elements and how that affects their lives. In many ways, I think this is a really important, eye-opening book. Although many books like this have been written, and I've read some of them, but every once in a while, reading something like this really can change your mindset. Because I mostly listen to literature, and so hearing something like this, where the land and the people, even when it's harsh, it's just described in a way that is really, really beautiful and hits home. But it is a nonfiction book, and so you'd have to be in the mindset to want to read that instead of in case you like literature. I'm going to recommend this, but I would recommend it for certain people. I would give this a 4 out of 5. But again, you have to be in the right mindset to want to read something like The Solace of Open Spaces. And the writer is Gretel Ehrlich. So that's The Solace of Open Spaces. The next one was a second book that was recommended by a young YouTuber. And this is the second book that I've read that she recommended that I'm just like, eh. So this was Iain M. Banks, The Algebraist. Now, what was really funny is after I read this, I started looking at reviews online, and it's very, very divided. This author wrote a series of books called The Culture, and they're widely acclaimed. And then this book is so different, and a lot of people they don't like it, whereas other people love it. And I'm going to think that the people who love this book are the people who also like that restaurant at the end of the universe series. Now, this has a lot of comedic elements, and the reader actually used a lot of British accents to represent snobby races of aliens. I didn't like that. I didn't like this kind of Earth accents representing evil, and picking one type of accent to kind of represent that, and all the different English accents representing snobbery and evil, and that kind of thing. There's a lot of cruelty in this book. Cruelty against individuals, cruelty against groups of people. I mean, there's a lot. So someone who doesn't like to hear about torture and all this kind of stuff, then you wouldn't want to read this. I'm able to handle it, but I noticed that I was wondering, does it really serve the purpose of this book? And it actually does, because they're talking about people being ruthless because they're all trying to find something before someone else does. I probably should explain a little bit about the book. So this is taking place way in the future, and there's a series of wormholes, and they don't know where all of them are, and they don't know how they connect everything. And so supposedly there is some kind of key in the universe. Like it was written down by somebody, but then lost over the centuries, of how all these wormholes are connected. And that whoever would get access to that would be able to basically control the universe, because they could get their armies and their fleets and everywhere, almost instantaneously. And so there is this race to get this information at any cost. And one group sends this kind of hapless person, there's a reason they choose him, out to find this information. So that's kind of the background of the book. But you come across of all these creatures and cultures and people who are ruthless. And I would say that this is a 3 out of 5. But if you like your sci-fi with comedy, and I know a lot of you out there do, I don't. Like I said, so many people love those Douglas Adams books. And me, I read them because I thought they were important. I needed to be exposed to them. I didn't hate them. They're not my cup of tea kind of thing. But if you like that series, then you might like this book, The Algebraist. I actually saw the appeal of this writer, and I'm not going to give up on him. I would actually like to read some of that culture that he wrote, the culture series. All right. And the last one that I read was by the Nobel Prize winning author Olga Tokarczuk. Now, this is called The Impusium, and the subtitle is A Health Resort Horror Story. Now, a friend of mine really, really likes her, and I started reading this, and I had the wrong idea. So I've read another book by this author, but I've also read another, I think, Polish writer, Olga. No, her name's Olga. Now I'm forgetting the other one. Magda Szabo, who wrote The Door. I've read like 2 or 3 of her books, and she's a brilliant writer. And I read another book by this woman. I don't think I've read more than one, and that book was phenomenal. And that was Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. Now, what I learned is that she wrote that book out of contractual obligation. And it's not like her normal style of writing. She only did that style so that she could get it over with. But I thought it was brilliant. So this is more in keen with her normal style. Now, this book was a little bit more difficult to really, really like. And I think that's because of the point of view. Now, this book is modeled after Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain. And I've actually been listening to that. I do it in chunks. And so I was getting the connection. There's a young man who goes to a resort up in the mountains for tuberculosis, and everyone there is under the care of doctors because of tuberculosis. Now, this turns into a kind of mystery. A lot of weird things are going on. There's a lot of moody atmosphere in this. But what's really interesting about this book is that the writer takes all these ideas that are espoused by male writers. She actually lists them all in the end, and she puts them into the mouths of her characters. And throughout this book, it seems like it's so much misogyny. It's coming out. It's like, but then when you get to the end and they actually tell you, like, yeah, these are all the ideas that were being espoused by all these really, really famous writers that have influenced culture and civilization. And you get a better appreciation for that. Like, it needs to be in there because, when you're examining, all of these things that have influenced culture. And there's also a really big twist at the end. That's kind of interesting. I'm not going to go over that. So overall, I this is a very enjoyable book. I liked her other book better. My friend who read this, she actually really, really liked this book. The point of view in this book was a bit weird because it switches from first person we, like a collective telling part of the narrative, to a third person. I'm not a huge fan of third person. I prefer first person. I just feel that is more narratively engaging for me. I've read plenty of really great books that are in third person, but this one switched back and forth, and that makes you a little bit. It's like disconcerting, but that's important because this is not supposed to be a straightforward narrative. It's subtitled A Health Resort Horror Story. For a reason, right? It's not supposed to be all, daisies and that kind of thing. So, when it comes to this book, The Impusium, I'm going to say she's a very important writer, and this is an important book, but it's not going to be enjoyable to everyone. I would recommend that you read Drive Your Plow Over the... I can't remember the title. Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead if you want to be introduced to this writer, even though that's not typical of her style, because it's a brilliant, brilliant book. And if you like that book, you might want to go on to her others. Now, most of her books, they're like honkers. They're like huge. And so this one isn't as large as some of the other ones, but it is still pretty chunky. But this one is accessible, although it's got a lot of weird things in it. But the fun part of it is after it's over, you're going to be thinking about it, and you're going to be thinking about like how do all these things link together, and how do they hook, and it's a really interesting read. And I think someone who wins the Nobel Prize shouldn't write a straightforward narrative where you're just getting a story. So I think for a Nobel Prize writer, they should be writing things that make you question how literature's put together in interesting ways, make you question what's going on in society or how things were that came before, and raise these issues that we could talk about them. I mean, not every Nobel Prize writer has to do that, but I really appreciated this book. I appreciated what it did. I'm not going to give it the highest rating. I liked her other book better, but I think it's an important book that people should be exposed to. And that's it. I'm done. We're at 38 minutes. I want to thank everyone for sticking around if you did. I went over like movies, books, records, a few losses in our communities. I went over the book The Ultimates, and I'm going to look through my pictures real fast to make sure I did everything. And yes, I did. So, like I said, I want to thank you all for the support.